Okay, you can just say who you are to start with, please.
Fern.
Okay, jolly good. Well, just tell me the experiences you've had as a young carer.
I've had to experience a lot of things during like mental, physical side of things where you have to grow up a lot older than you actually are, and you lose friends, you lose, relationships with partners even, and it's difficult because you can't always put it into words when you explain it to people, because other kids as such and even adults don't understand where you come from and how you kind of see things. And even if they sit there and like, yeah, I understand, they don't actually speak to you about it, they don't acknowledge it as such. They kind of just think, oh, you're looking after a parent or looking after someone you love, where it shouldn't be as such labelled, where it is a big thing and people don't understand it. If you've got mental health or a physical or mental disability yourself, you can't be a young carer for someone, but that's not always the case.
I suppose in part it's maybe thinking this is more than just helping the family out, this is more than just doing the chores. Is that the sort of...
Yeah, it's physical, mental support can be a lot more than physical needs, where people don't understand. Emotional support can be where it feels like a ton of bricks, whereas physical things are sometimes a lot easier than to sit there and tell someone it's going to be okay that you love, when in reality, you don't know if it's okay yourself. Or when people put things onto you saying, oh yeah, you've got to look after this person, you have to look after this person, and you say why, and they say because you're the strong one, but they don't know that because they're not asking you if you're okay, they're just, assuming it and jumping to the conclusion, whereas they should be really asking you and not just telling you you're okay.
So what sort of age did you start to become a young carer, or did you recognise you were a young carer?
Even when I was in first school, so like the first of the years, I was having to grow up where we wouldn't have clean clothes. My nanny was more of a mum to me, and because my family do look similar, I always pictured it as that. I never pictured it as to grow up and be different. So I never understood where most people kind of just grow up as, that's my mum, that's my dad, where my dad left before I was even acknowledged that I had one as such. And then you kind of have to grow up and you have to wash your clothes yourself, you have to go to school and be 10 minutes late because your parent doesn't want them to socialise for their disabilities or their mental, physical things. And then you realise to yourself that you are such different, even though you don't want to be. And I kind of realised that, as I said, as early as in first school. So even though I lived 6 doors away from my first school, it was always a struggle as getting up. My mum would be in bed for 2-3 weeks at a time, crying, different people come around the house and you wouldn't understand it because you didn't know. And
what was life like at school for you?
Horrible. I was bullied for not just my weight, because of my brother. As you grow up, you kind of have to always follow your siblings, whereas if your sibling's different to you, then they don't, think you've got different problems because you're the same people as such. Whereas school, I was bullied, I was put into situations that should have never happened. I did tell about when my brother as such was physical towards us. I told the school and they called my mum, where my mum said that it wasn't happening because of her own mental health and she didn't want to affect that, and then the school thought I was lying. So I was apparently, as they actually said to me, you're like the boy that cried wolf, whereas that wasn't the case. They just...
To what extent did the school know that you were a young carer?
I told them all the time where I couldn't go into school because my mum was ill, or why are you always late because my mum, or we didn't have clothes, or growing up as a kid even, you kind of want to be popular, you want to wear nice clothes, you want to look smart as such. Whereas growing up, I didn't have that choice. It was wear something the next day and have to wear the same outfit even though it's not been washed. And it puts me off now, as now I kind of have to have 3 or 4 showers a day, which has affected me from as early to now, and it probably will do for quite a lot of years.
We're looking at a range of professionals on the programme. In terms of the school, what do you believe the school could have done differently?
They could have actually acknowledged that, that people can be different, and that as I grew up, we kind of, till the age of 13, I was probably a very good child. I was never shouting in class, I was never, acknowledged. And then when I noticed other children that were using violence, using bad language to get what they wanted, I done it, and as soon as I did, I got like a lot of support, I got help, I got noticed, and I got attention, and that's all I really wanted. Because, as you say, you go home, you don't speak to anyone because everyone's upset, or you wake up not knowing whether one person's going to be in a mood, because it does set off everyone else in the household. It's not just the fact of thinking, oh, this one person's going to set off, it's everyone. And if we disagree, it's a big thing. If you say certain things, you can't always, you have to tippy-toe around it, and it's hard. And still to this day, my mum will sit there and not acknowledge that I'm a carer. She kind of doesn't see it like that. So you get treated as an adult from a young age, but then if you want to actually do the kind of things like a child or an adult would do, as such as go out with friends, you don't have that. You just have the emotional and physical support, as I said, as an adult, but not the actual being treated as one.
What about your classmates and your friends? How did they react to the experiences you were going through?
I never really had friends growing up. I kind of had to learn, as I said, to be on my own. I'd rather be on my own now, because then I know that no one's going to judge me, whereas at one point I used to get bullied for being fat, and now I will sit there and call myself these names, because if I do it and people notice I do it, they won't tend to do it. So my classmates as such would always be like, oh, Fern's not coming in, she's out doing this, she's out doing that, and getting called a chav, because, as I say, you don't really have that many clothes, whereas a pair of jeans you can't always wear, a tracksuit you can kind of wear as you go along. So it's kind of me going to school in leggings instead of school trousers, and trainers because they were my only shoes instead of proper school shoes. So it was difficult having to explain to people that I couldn't afford or couldn't do these things. I'd never been on a school trip, because even though I had the money, it wasn't the fact of being to go, it was, well, if I go then people might say something, I'd just rather be on my own all the time.
What do you feel schools should be doing that they're not doing?
Acknowledging it, and there is good teachers out there, whereas the learning support assistants, if you've noticed, they will help you a lot more, because they haven't got, just the professional side as such off the books, whereas some people put it. They will actually use their own mother instinct or father instinct as such to realise that we're children. We are growing up, and there is so many difficulties within generations, and it's just getting worse, it's not getting better, and they need to, use, as I put it, a bit of their mother instinct or father instinct to put towards these certain things, instead of just, well, it doesn't say it in the book that we learn, it doesn't say it in the training we had, but we're still going to acknowledge it, whereas they don't do that.
If you heard that schools were saying that all teachers are trained in the well-being of their pupils, exercising common sense and professional judgment, approachable with good procedures and open relationships, what would you say to that?
Diabolical. That is probably one of the most things that I've heard that is far from the truth. Fair enough, there's certain teachers that have learned from that perspective, but it's not from professionals, it's not from Ofsted or places like that. It's generally from their own instincts, and possibly breaking a couple rules, doing it where it should be an actual natural reaction for anyone to do it.
Okay, I'm just going to break that